Well, I'm working on Leon's pre-war, or not pre-war, what do you call it? Brass button chassis. And I have secured one of the drive bearings. I have created knurling for the gear on the drive shaft. And I'm just setting the second bearing in to maintain the alignment while the Loctite sits on this bearing. I want it to be locked in to that side so that it doesn't move during the rest of the assembly process. And then I'll begin to insert the other bearings and axles, which will be simpler. The challenge here is the gear, of course. Getting the gear on, locking it on. I have knurled the inner piece of the axle so that the gear has a somewhat press fit, but I will include some Loctite on the sides to give it a little more adhesion, plus the knurling. And this will be an experiment. This is a test. We'll see if this holds together during the setup and all of that, and if it makes it, then I will send it to Leon for his use. If not, then I'll have to come up with plan B. Worst case is I go back to the bushings. I haven't modified anything, so we'll figure it out. But I'm hopeful that I'll be able to get the wheels on and the gear and the motor and be moving this thing soon. I'll be using my new spacers. I resized this so that it's now perfect for the spacing. The challenge, you may know, is that the fat side has a different thickness, and on the newer ones you have to be aware of that and work with it. Here on Rodney's, you can see that's a little different. Well, this is the one that I pressed fit, yeah, but you can see this one is a little thinner than this one. On others it gets a little more pronounced, but and of course on the top it's thinner because we have our gear that has to fit down in there, but that doesn't affect this bottom piece. So this gear is done. This gear could be done soon, and then I move on to gills, and then fourth engine will be Tim's pre-war O-gauge, which is going to be a little more complex, and I may want to get a little further on these three and then come back to his, because I kind of think his chassis is going to be sort of like this, and that's really a question I have to answer. Is this going to be enough meat to hold everything? And as you can see, that one's broken. I'm thinking about getting some JB weld and bonding some plate on the inside for some stiffness, giving us a better chance of that holding up over time. I knew I had another gear set, brass too. All right, so that looks like O-gauge, doesn't it? Absolutely, that's out of this guy. Good, excellent. Got spare O. I wonder if the gear's the same. It certainly looks it, doesn't it? All right, very interesting. Okay, so I'm going to let that cure. Lunch is almost ready, and then I will. I'm beginning to complete assembly of other Puff and Chuff boards. I've got all the parts I need. I've got the science figured out. I'm done with the testing. I'm going to assemble this engine for, I say for the last time, I'm going to assemble this engine for the Go. I got a better idea on how to do the fan. I got everybody's fan in. I probably have enough speakers. I may not have enough soundboards figured out. I'll have to check that. But everything else is going to be fine. I'm going to redesign this part that holds the power distribution board. I don't need all this meat in this, so I'm going to cut the center out, make a big opening, and bolt a heat sink to these two rectifiers and give them a chance to benefit from having the cooling fan, because where they are, they're just mounted flat with no airflow. So I'm going to create some airflow back there. I'm going to maintain the routing holes and all that, so that all stays the same. And then massive cleanup eventually. I don't know when, because I want to build these engines really, really bad. I want to build these boards, run the tests, get them on there. This board's done. He's going back on. I've fixed the errors in my ways, and components that I thought were accurate weren't, and I had to make some changes, but it looks like we've got it now. And we're going to go with it. It's reliable. I've bought the boards. I've got the parts, so we're going to build them. And I'll get back to you after lunch and see if that bearing stays in. And if it doesn't, I may have to try JB Weld. I don't know. And then we'll go from there. All right, later.